In our previous video on Sophism, we discussed the philosophy of Gorgias and Protagoras in detail, and in the introduction, we started with saying that Socrates and Plato highly criticized the workings or the philosophy of Sophism. In this video, we will understand the reason behind it. So, to give you a very summarized version of the philosophy of Sophism, we can say that Gorgias and Protagoras believes that knowledge is via perception and it is very subjective or relative in nature. They also believe that every judgment is a tautology. They developed this theory of refutation just for the reason of refuting the statements of their opponents. Being sophists, they concentrated on the logic of proof and contradiction and developed their theory of refutation. Now, what is this theory of refutation? Basically, via this theory of refutation, they showed that any judgment can really be regarded as a tautology. Now, how is that possible? Let us understand this with an example. Let's say the table before me is red in color. So here the table is the subject term and red is the predicate term. So sophists would say that either the predicate red is the same as the table, that is the subject, or it is not the same. Now obviously the predicate red is not the same as the subject term, that is the table. So now sophists would say that hence it tells us something of the subject term or the table which it is not. So it is false and all synthetic judgments automatically become false. So by this, sophists would basically say that all that we are permitted to say is that the table is a table and not the table is red in color. Now this statement is an analytic statement, that is the table is a table and it is also a tautology. As a result, we cannot know anything at all. Now this is also one of the tenets of Sophism which is propounded by Gorgias. Now this philosophical thinking is highly criticized by Socrates. Before reading that, let us know a little more about Socrates. Socrates is credited to be one of the founding fathers of Western philosophy. He belongs to the school of classical Greek philosophy. He has made tremendous contribution towards the two branches of philosophy, namely epistemology and ethics. Now, Plato's dialogues are the only means of comprehensive accounts of Socrates' teachings, as he has made no writings himself. So whatever little that we know about Socrates is only through Plato's writings. For example, Plato's dialogue Meno says that Socrates' method of inquiry was said to be conversational. The conversational method of Socrates took the form of what is today known to us as the dialectic method. The dialectic method is basically a form of art which deals with the arguments, skillful questions and answers. It is important to note that the questions have to be answered in the fewest words possible and they have to be very precise or to the point in the dialectic method. The whole point of this process, according to Socrates, was to awaken the knowledge which is already present in a man. An analogy can be easily drawn between his dialectic method and his personal life. It is said that Socrates' mother was a midwife and helped in delivering of the babies who were in their mother's womb. Now, a comparison has been drawn between his mother's work and his work, which is believed to be similar in nature. For instance, Socrates also helped awakening the already present knowledge which lied dormant within the man via the help of his skillful questioning or his Socratic method. Socrates believed that the soul is immortal in nature, due to which it already possesses the perfect knowledge of ideas in its previous births, but the knowledge remains dormant in this life and it needs to be awakened or it needs to be recollected. So this dialectic method served this purpose. The conversational or dialectic method of Socrates mostly dealt with concepts like good, justice, virtue, knowledge, temperance, etc. The dialectic method is famously called today the Socratic method. Socrates despised the treacherous ways of teaching that was done by the sophists. According to him, there lies a sharp distinction between perception or percepts and conception or concepts. He believed that concepts deal with the universal idea of class. For instance, the universal idea of cowness, tableness, etc. On the other hand lies perception or percepts that deal with a number of observations of individuals or particular things. For instance, perception of a number of individual cows. So basically, Socrates regarded that knowledge is possible only via concepts and not via percepts. He says so because Socrates believed that percepts only suggest concepts which are already lying dormant in a man, that we have already discussed is the previous knowledge of eternal ideas from past births which we all possess, but it needs to be awakened via recollection, and Socrates used the method of conversation. So this whole process is possible because Socrates believed in the immortality of soul or the transmigration of soul. Another important philosophical branch that Socrates deals with is ethics. He believed that virtue is the idea of good. He urged the young to pursue the path of virtue and work towards attaining the idea of good. He says, rather than working for the pursuits of attaining wealth, fame, etc., according to him, the wealth, fame, etc. were regarded to be shallow in nature. He quotes, an unexamined life is not worth living, and virtue is the only thing that truly matters. In simpler words, he believes that the idea of good or the idea of virtue is the highest single reality, due to which, when one possesses this knowledge, one can never make errors or commit mistakes. In relation to ethics, Socrates believed in four major ethical propositions. They are: virtue is knowledge and it is possible only via concepts. So basically, via this, he says that virtue is only knowledge and vice is ignorance. So, in order to keep oneself away from ignorance, one has to stop relying on percepts because knowledge is only possible via concepts. The second is virtue is knowledge, so virtue can be taught. Now, you can easily draw a very sharp distinction between this second proposition and what is proposed by sophists. Sophists said that knowledge cannot be shared at all because it is very subjective in nature, and because it is subjective, it varies from one person to another. Now, this is just the opposite of what we have read under Socrates, that knowledge is virtue and virtues can be taught. So, knowledge can be taught and knowledge can be shared. The third important proposition is virtue is one and not many. And lastly, virtue leads to happiness. So, the entire goal is basically working on oneself, that is, working on the idea of virtue, that is, the idea of good, which is already present in ourselves, but it needs to be awakened, and this process would lead to happiness, which is the ultimate goal because it is also the idea of good and it is the end result of virtue. So, by saying this, he says the only focus of a man should be on happiness and not on the materialistic pleasures of life, such as wealth, fame, etc., which are regarded to be really shallow in nature according to Socrates' philosophy. Question: the following statements are true according to. The first statement is knowledge is possible only via concepts. Concepts deal with the universal idea of class. The soul is immortal in nature. And lastly, virtue is the idea of good. The correct answer is Socrates. Please note, had the question been knowledge is possible only via percepts, the answer would have been the Sophists, and the soul is immortal in nature is also regarded to be true by Pythagoras too. But here, all the four statements are true according to Socrates' philosophy.